ENID Joy Crook, née Kale, 23rd of the 11th, 1932. At North Nangeenan, the farm, Forest Farm, Dad's farm, we bought. I think people that built the place, opened the farm up, were called Forest, that's why it was called Forest Farm. Passed on. But lived in the old corrugated iron home. I think it was brought down from Kalgoorlie for my early years. And Dad, I don't know how, but he managed to build a new brick house on the farm, and they moved into that while I was away, my first term at college. The old corrugated home, I remember such a lot. It was lined with stamped metal and all different patterns, and I could sort of visualise the patterns, looked at them a lot, lying in bed particularly. So when I was, I was thinking back to playing on the road. It ran past close to the house. This was later on really, not when I was tiny. I'd throw something up in the air and turn around looking for it. Something you wouldn't want children to do these days because of the fast cars, the quieter cars. But you'd hear a car coming for a long while, or a horse clopping along. Different things like that you used to be able to do that you can't do now. You wouldn't want to. Now where am I going from there? I started school at Nangeenan and stayed with my auntie, my dad's second sister, who ran the post office in what should have been their lounge room. I don't know who had the business before, or whether she was the first one, their first postmistress. That's another question, another thing I've never known. I hear some people's phones, mobile phones now, and I do all that. Tell Auntie the phone's ringing in the post office. Sounds like an old post office phone. Yes, I didn't have far to walk to school. Down the bush, past at the back of the house. We weren't far from the Merredin, the Nangeenan Hall, which was my social hub all my young life. And went to, we had Christmas trees there, and dances, I suppose. We'd have to sleep in the car while the parents were to dance inside. And sometimes if we were indoors, probably in the winter time it was too cold, but they'd have us on a rug behind the piano and they'd be dancing. Don't think we could go to sleep there, but no, don't say I didn't enjoy it. I was some naughty thing. Am I allowed to sell a little bit? I've remembered all my life that I used to get teased by a couple of sisters, and one of the younger sisters I still know here now, and they used to tease me, and one day I got hold of their library card. I never read enough to get a library card myself at that stage, or any stage for that matter. And I walked away from school and I thought, well, I'm not going to keep this with me, so I just lifted a little rock on the side of the track while they all walked by, put it under there. I don't know whether it was ever found, but the headmaster came to call. This is my biggest lie in my life. Called me one day and asked me did I take their library card, and I said no, because I thought to myself, no, I didn't take it, I left it taken. I put myself at ease that way, even though I was only 6 years old. I should have worked it all out sometime. I've often wondered. I only went there probably the whole year, as far as I know. And Phil was going to school in Merredin. He stayed with Joan Crook's auntie, Mrs. Campbell, in town. And then a school was brought closer to our place at North Nangeenan. It was called the North Nangeenan School, I think, then. There was a school out there a bit further out. Well, there had been another one earlier on than that too, I think, called No Kenning School. I think one of them might have had a different name. I can't remember that now. But my brother Phil and myself used to ride bikes to school, and we'd wake up in the morning and say, "Which way's the wind blowing, Mum?" Usually headwind in the morning and a headwind in the afternoon, we'd say. Yeah, so 4 hills. 4 miles, 4 hills. I don't remember it worrying us that much, really. No. I don't remember having to ride in the rain. It's strange, that. When Phil went away to college, I rode the horse to school a few times. And one day we used to have to I had to take the saddle off it. And 2 other families came in a horse and sulky, McGuinnesses and Don Giles. And they, I suppose, between a lot of them, they got going on the road this day before me. I was still getting the saddle on, back on the horse. And so I thought, I got out on the road and catching up to them, and the horse was getting in front of them. So I thought, I may as well, my horse will be going faster than their horse, pulling a sulky. And I couldn't stop her all the way home. She wouldn't change a gait. She wouldn't canter or gallop or anything. Just trotted. And I lost my feet from the stirrups, and I wasn't going to get them back in case I slipped off the horse, because it was a fairly big horse. So I hung on with my knees, which were red raw by the time I got home. Met up with Dad in a horse and cart heading to a property he was leasing at the time, and asking me what's wrong, and I said, I can't stop her. And I couldn't do anything. I tried different things, pulling her into where I knew was a water trough. That didn't work. I pulled down a different road. She might be wondering why she's doing this and falter a bit, but no, she just kept trotting straight home. And it took me 72 years to find out for sure what the reason was when Phil came up here to Merredin, since we've been living in Merredin. And I mentioned that one day, and he said, "Oh yeah, she was a retired trotter." So I fully understood straight away then. We got on the road in front of this horse that was trotting, pulling the sulky, and it wasn't going to have its race. It was in front, and it wasn't going to let me spoil its race. And Dad was going to follow me, see if I was okay, and he thought, I'll stop when he gets home. And sure enough, in the gate, stopped at the tree where we tied her up to put the saddle on, that sort of thing. Yes, I came on the first school bus that ran to Merredin. I don't think what year it was now. That's a strange. I haven't checked on all these things. Can't remember. Anyway, I said it was like a 3-ply bus. The way it was shaped, just like it's made of 3-ply. It wasn't like the buses now. Oh, it was okay. Other kids, I remember one of the boys, Merredin, from the pumping station, they could have used to go. They used to be picked up on the bus. The bus went different ways, I don't know, each week or each month. It went alternate directions, right out around No Canning and into Merredin, past, through Nanjing and around No Canning, back to Merredin. And the pumping station kids could have walked to school, but they'd have to do that long trip around on the bus. One day, the boy was younger than me, but he was quite a big kid, and he fell asleep across my lap, so I thought I'd better leave him on, I suppose. But anyway, I don't remember much else. I suppose some kids were getting up to mischief a bit on the bus and that sort of thing, but the bus didn't have seating like the usual buses. That was the other thing. We had back-to-back seats down the middle and side seat, just seats along the sides. It was different, like that. But and one of our neighbours was the bus driver for a start. No, don't think so. Yeah, it was all right, but I was nervous about school. I wasn't a good student. Got plenty of brainy kids now, but I wasn't such a good student myself. I think it was because I didn't listen. I let my mind wander off. And I often think back and think how I've got a mania for crosswords now, and you wonder how that would happen. Yeah. Oh, well, Dad didn't let Mum and I do too much on in farm work because he had 3 older sisters and 2 older brothers, and these 2 older brothers let the girls carry on the work when they reckoned they should be taking over. And so he said to my mum one day, well, he said to himself, and he told Mum about it. I think that's how I got to know about it. When I get married, my women folk aren't going to do this sort of thing. And he only got us to do help a bit when he really needed it and wasn't something worthwhile to find somebody else to come and help with. I think like just bringing sheep up, up to the farm sheds and that sort of thing from the paddocks, and didn't let us. Well, they had horse-drawn machinery at that stage, so we wouldn't be doing that. I don't know what age Phil was. I don't know that he was allowed to do it at any stage either. We got the tractor. Remember the first tractor? But no, not rubber wheels, of course, the metal wheels. The most dangerous thing, I think, was that, because it was a job that wasn't long lasting, get somebody, or couldn't get somebody to come and do the job, help them. It was Mum up on a wagon of hay and pitching the hay down for Dad to put through the chaff cutter. Now, she could have slipped off, it could have all started rolling and anything like that. So that was the most dangerous thing I ever knew. But Dad wouldn't let us milk cows even. Some of the housework and cooking. As I got older, I left school and I didn't come into town. Actually, Phil had a car. We had 2 cars by then, but I did learn to drive, get a licence. Mum never had a licence, so that was to drive. So probably for a start I was taking her to CWA and things like that, but she only joined then when I was there, able to take her. I can't remember the first time I met him and saw him. I knew the family. The families, and you might see them from a distance and that sort of thing, but it was probably at the dances, the weekend, Saturday night dances, old ballroom dances, which was great fun. It was really a great thing. The old town hall in Merredin here, sometimes the railway hall, which has been taken down now. What they call it, the Railway Institute, they call it, I think, Railway Institute Hall. You know where that was? Next to the medical centre. And different places like Barndee and even on Nangine and occasionally, and Newcarney. I remember we must have gone to Dungarran sometimes, but just around Burracoppin, all the different places that had halls. We go, and Bedellen. Mum and Dad didn't go into that very much. They did a bit of vegetable growing and that sort of thing, but otherwise, I liked helping in the garden. That was another thing when I was home. But was it coming to town every Saturday? That's what all the farmers did, came and did their shopping on Saturdays and stayed for the evening. And the Cale family would meet up, the Cales and the Donkins. Mrs. Donkin was Dad's younger sister. And the families would have a tea on the lawn along the edge of the railway. The railway fence was there where the parking area is now. That was all part of the railway marshalling yards and all the different lines, more lines I dare say, railway lines going through. And the bridge was there over top of the railway line. Do you remember the bridge? I used to walk across there every Saturday afternoon and go for my music lessons in Miss Hazel Bray's place in French Avenue. And I remember the kids getting underneath the town side of the bridge, mucking around in there, and Phil and somebody else, sometimes they'd have a little tin of, what do you call milk, they'd get something, I don't know how they got it, whether they had money and bought it or what. They'd get up to any mischief anyway. But my brother was a bit of a mischief. I don't know, to go into the grocery shop, you used to have to take your list, and they you didn't do your shopping, didn't pick out your shopping lot, so they take a list. I don't know. Probably the cafes, you know. We occasionally go and have a meal in there, but very occasionally when we were young. But as I got older, we'd be going there more often. Probably the hairdressers one time, but the newsagents. But no, I didn't have any particular place that I remember. My first job, just being at home helping out, mum or helping dad, whatever. And then when I got married, I was full on, looking after, feeding all the farmers. Because my husband Joe worked with his brothers. Yes, and they had occasional other workers come in as well. And I'd have to be in the kitchen most of the time. What I remember, I was awfully nervous, very self-conscious, so there's a lot of detail I probably don't remember about it. There are some. But it's strange, mentioning that somebody else, Judy Donkin mentioned one day to me about how the church they got married in was shifted, and I'd said the same happened with ours. It was rebuilt. A new church was built on the grounds, and in that hall we had our reception. It was being pulled down. Ours was the old town hall. Theirs, I think, was the railway hall, because Father was in the railways. I think it's probably the one that. And where we stayed our first night, our we stayed at Kellerberrin, and that hotel burnt down. And the same thing happened when they stayed over in the other Cundoppin or somewhere, one of those places. Same thing happened there. That church, that hall hotel burnt down. I did a lot of dressmaking when I was at home. Started off, and I continued that when I was married. And even, made clothes for the boys as well. I enjoyed the kids. The fun was, it was trying times, I suppose. It would be with any children, but it was my greatest ambition, actually, was to get married and have kids, because I always loved kids. I loved, anywhere there was little children, I'd like to interfere, sort of take, have play with them and that sort of thing, see what they were interested in. 5 sons, yeah. Oh, if Joe's got 5 sons, I've got 6 boys. That's what I've always said. I think I was glad I had boys and not girls, I think. Some of those, I've got daughter-in-laws now that are all families of girls, just girls, no boys. And they don't like me saying that. But, I think it started, I thought girls are very short-tempered, I think, like myself. Like Mum, and we're having fun sometimes, we're yapping away, and next moment she's flying off the handle at me about something. No, I used to think, because you see some families that just, there's only my brother and myself in the family, and others with all boys or girls or mixed families. And I thought, if you had all boys or all girls, I think I'd rather have all boys. And marrying into a family of all boys, strange really. And their mum would like to have had a girl right from the start, but she had her girl, the 6th one. And so I thought, Joe would like to have had a daughter, I think. I wouldn't have minded. But I thought, just because the 6th one was a girl in their family didn't mean it's going to be the same for us, so left it at the 5 boys. I didn't have to, really, because he was working with his brothers, and occasionally when they started buying their own properties, moving further away, and then he'd have workers when he needed seasonal workers. So, anyone helping that? I didn't have to do much at all. No. I remember running along behind the horse pulled plough, and Dad wouldn't let us do anything, but I don't remember him going off in there for getting this disc plough. No, it wasn't a disc plough, it was a, what do you call it, the rung tines. Working my way up to him sitting in this steel seat they used to sit on with the horses. If my sons tried to do anything like that, like climbing trees, which I like doing too, I wouldn't tell them to get down straight away, but I'd call out, be careful, be careful. I wouldn't take my eyes off them until, come on down there. But I loved climbing trees myself, and Mum didn't always see me doing it. But anyway, I got across this plough right up behind Dad's seat. Horse-driven, The horses could have bolted and anything could have happened. I could have gone down in the plough. And I remember driving when I first left school, Dad would let me go, and that was one thing he'd let me do, was go and drive the tractor for a while. But he'd have a very quick lunch. He'd be back, out, take over again, instead of leaving me out there too long. We used to have, Nanjeenan was our social group while we were growing up, and it was picnics at Tadgeon Rock every year. Remember going to a picnic at Nungarran out that way once there, Eaglehead Rock, I think, near that. I don't know that my parents were there. I think it might have been after we were married. I remember going out there once, but that was mainly to Tadgeon Rock every year. That was the main picnic. But apart from having our evening meals in town, I don't think we used to have lunches, picnics in town. I was silly, I didn't get them to do too much for me. I like gardening, so I did most of the garden jobs anyway, with all these boys around, all these men around. And I thought, they're only kids once, so I'll think about getting them to help about something. And, they're only kids once, let them go. And I thought, when they grew up and got married, they got their kids to do things more. Some of them did. But they were pretty good kids, but they must have. I just can't think at the moment of some of the jobs they did do. Oh yes, well that's all I knew, and I preferred it anyway. Being out on the farm, I used to go walking in the bush, looking at different shrubs and anything like that. So on my own. Yeah, I think I was watching out for snakes, but not sure. I was intrigued with the bush we had across the road from us. Wasn't public, wasn't private property. We used to walk around, and we used to be able to go through that bush I'm talking of, horse and cart, or horse and sulky sometimes to the Donkins, which were their property was on the other side of that bush. That was the way. It was a shortcut through there. We went by car. We went around the roads, around the road, to Connell's Corner. Always remember Connell's Corner. I can just vaguely remember those people being there. And that was Connell's Road that the Donkins lived on. And further on was Horribins, when there's several other families, people have lived in that house now. And then the next was the Cale property, right on the highway, where the original Cale's property in the district. Well, it's only Phil and I, we didn't do a lot. It was more fun. I think we got together with families, but it's strange. And the things won't come back to me now immediately about we used to get together with other families at Christmas time, but it was probably in the evening most often, I think. But, anyway, that's something I hadn't thought about to bring back to mind. All the shops, the businesses have changed so much. I've seen... that was something I was thinking about too, because as I mentioned, the bridge earlier on, well, that's just quite near the visitor centre there, isn't it? The amenities there nearby, that was built later on, but we had the other women's amenities built down there. It's the building's still there. What's that called now? I'm not sure now. Is it? My mother was on the committee when they first built that. I'm trying to think of the businessman that started that, Mr. Anyway. Oh yes, I was into it quite like some of them are, into everything, but I went along regularly. I was just across the road. I used to take Mum for a start when I had my licence. Talking about my licence, I drove myself into town to get my licence because I was asked who drove you to town. I said I drove myself. Just a smirk on his face. But obviously heard those stories before, I think, at that time. No, the house I'm living in at the moment, the parents built, had just moved into, not that long before our second was born, Colin, and Mum suggested I come and stay because I had Rolly at home, the oldest one, to come in to town, in a hurry. Suggested I stay. It was only the second night I was staying with them. I got the message Colin was coming. Yeah, and he was born in 2.5 hours, so it would have been a bit of panic if we'd come in, had to travel in. Well, I've thought of that a lot. I was glad that I was able to raise children in the country, out on the farm. You had to watch out for them, where dangerous things like machinery and that's when they were toddlers. You had to be watching out a lot for them, but they'd be the same watching out for your children running out on the road from town houses. But I thought that was far better than raising children in town. So, yeah. But, enjoyed all that life anyway. I thoroughly enjoyed raising the kids. Yes, I was only away for college for 2 years, and apart from that, because we had to attach to the farms for a start, I suppose, the main thing. But I wouldn't have, I never wished to go anywhere else to live. People, even retirement, I never thought we'd go away and live near the coast. It was always just stay in the area that you've been used to, where you belonged. That was I always wondered why people wanted to go away and live in the city. I also wonder that, why do people live in the city? But they've got 2 sons living in the city, or in the suburbs, and we're happy to go and stay with them, of course. So there's 2 living in Perth and 1 in Kalgoorlie and 2 here in the district. Yeah. Probably learn to read a bit faster. I don't think so. I don't think I had time to. No, my life's been pretty full on, really. I don't think I regret it. Perhaps I've slowed up too much now. I don't get out and socialise enough. I get to see my husband at the nursing home when I can. Yeah. There was no connection with the 2 families, to my knowledge. They may have known one another, but it was only like it was. We used to come into town on the Saturday afternoons, and you'd know different families and which area they came from. And probably it was the same. I don't remember meeting up that much with the Crook family myself, my parents. I knew them, probably through sport and in school, when Joe's younger brother and sister came to the Merredin school. I got to know them more then. They came when the buses started running into Merredin first. No, there was no close connection with them, because there's a New Carney was the social hub there around the New Carney area, and we were Nanjinan. And then, of course, teenagers, we met up in town Saturday nights for the dances. That's so. And I thought it was a great place to live anyway. I haven't had it, well, I've had it 10 years now, nearly. But no, it didn't bring it. It's just the fact. I thought, I can't think of it. I was thinking different photos, and they're probably in the book, but they're nothing, I don't suppose. I can't think of anything in particular. It's really, yeah, and Joe's family as well, yeah. I think Donda organised that for a local lady put together. Did hope to be with her while she was doing it some of the time, but it's my book, but starts off with a lot of the ancestors on Joe's side before my grandparents. So that's the only disappointing thing about it. We used to dress the kids up when we came to town too. Not like this all the time, like we've got ties on there, but there were lots of occasions where you did dress them up. And God, I spat on it. But I just sort of think, I was thinking of different photos. Well, I don't know, I'd think of a photo and it'd take too long to find the ones in there. I don't know that there's a particular special photo. Oh, not just the one, there's a few of them, I think. It's a good photo of my when I was a deputant. I don't know just how far, it's all mixed up too. I had planned how it was going to be, but I didn't get to be with the person who did this. And they're all mixed up, the Cook family and the Cale family, right through. There was one photo I was thinking of, it's probably in there, Dad's family, all the Cale family together. They used to get together a lot. Generation, although most of the generations weren't there. No, I'm battling to see now. Merredin show days where we used to dress up. If we didn't have gloves on, we'd carry our gloves with our handbags. Do you remember those days? That's a photo there with, straight away I saw. All the photos have got good memories for me. There's a photo of Joe and Joe's sister Pat there with myself. We've got a few of it. I was going to say about the first car I drove into town, my brother's car, I think. Anyway, I didn't get much time to do this sort of thing. Yeah, see, there's even photos of the whole family together at our youngest son's wedding, but that's what's in there. But there's a good photo of Joe with his tractor here somewhere. Did you see that one, Little? There's photos of the New Carney Christmas tree. No, it's just so many photos I like, and I couldn't think of any other little item, to bring along. I'll grab that because I was thinking of different photos there, but it was the Cale family photos there. I think the last time we met in a park in Perth. This one I called our boys the men from the Middle East.
Why?
A couple of them had mows. They just looked like family from the Middle East, I called that photo. This photo here. I was dressed going to see, was it royalty or someone special coming into Perth? And in Perth. Joe was on the Shire for several years, and I think it was the time he was, that's where we went down for that, I think. No, I don't remember. It wasn't it won't come to me now. Did for years. No. All the legs here on the lounge chair. Did you see that one? Yeah, Joe put an old wagon. Occasionally he did things like that. He didn't do any gardening, but he did all the paving. And he put this wagon together and painted it. So that was at somebody's. That was an anniversary, I think. Yeah. I think I enjoyed it. In Colin's property up there. He was first married. There's probably lots of photos like that.
There's lots in there, isn't there?
Yeah.
It's a good book.
It mean a lot to me. I used to collect such a lot of photos. And I took a lot of photos of scenes around sunsets and sunrises and storms and all that sort of thing. Some of them are in there too, I think. Probably